She's M-A-M-I-E. Yes, she believes in me. She reads a story from a book or two. She's M-A-M-I-E. Mammy's Corner! Hello, my littles. Welcome to Mammy's Corner, and I'm Mammy. But you already knew that, didn't you? Yes, you did. It is time to do our affirmations. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's say it out loud. You ready? I am loved. You sure are loved, my littles, but let's say it louder. Ready? I am loved. Good job. Now, besides your parents who loves you, that's right, God loves you. But who else loves you? Mammy loves you, and don't you go forgetting that. Let's do the next one. You ready? I am good. Are you good? You better be good. But let's say it louder. Ready? I am good. Good job. Now for the last one. I am kind. Are you kind? Oh, you are. Okay, one more time, really loud. I am kind. Good job, my littles. Now, before I forget, make sure you take your remote, arrow it down. You want to subscribe because you don't want to miss any stories that Mammy reads. And you also want to give Mammy a thumbs up to let me know that you've read this or that you heard Mammy's story. All right, are you ready? It's time to get comfortable. So, beanbag, maybe a chair of some sort. Mammy has like this little rocking chair. Get comfy. Or maybe you want to cuddle with a parent or some adult that you want to be with. But don't forget your favorite blankie. Cuddle, cuddle, cuddle with favorite blankies. Okay, I'm all tucked in. What else do I need? That's right. I need my favorite pillow. Oh, there's my pillow. All right. What else? Yes, your favorite stuffy. Mine is Buddy. All right, so if you've been watching Mammy's videos, I have been doing a Cinderella series from different versions. So we have Yashin, which is the original China story. Then we have Adelita, which is the Mexican story. Then we have a worldwide. It's the glass slipper, gold sandal story that's like all over the world, right? But today I'm going to read a different one, different version, and I hope you like it. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, get comfy. Here we go. Once upon a time, in a country village, there lived a lovely young maiden. This maiden was gentle and kind-hearted. She had lived a happy and comfortable life with her loving mother and father in their own grand estate until the untimely death of her mother. Her father soon looked for a new woman to marry so that his daughter would once again have a mother. The maiden's father met a widow who was raising two daughters of her own. Her daughters were similar in age to his daughter. The widow and her daughter seemed kind, so the two soon married. Then the woman and her daughters moved in. Sadly, the new mother and her daughters were actually not kind. They pretended to be nice whenever the father was around, but when his daughter was left alone with her new family members, they treated her poorly. They made her do all the chores and wait on them like a servant. "Do the mending," yelled the stepmother. "Sweep the steps," yelled her stepsister. "Where's our food?" yelled her other stepsister. The demands and requests went on all day long, every day. The daughter could barely keep up. She never could find time to talk to her father about her problems. The stepsisters had taken over her bedroom and forced her to sleep in the kitchen. Every night she would curl up near the fire, trying to keep warm. This caused the girl to often have smudges of soot on her face and clothing. So the stepsisters and their mother then began to call her Cinderella, since she always wore evidence of cinders from the fire. Cinders means ashes from the fire. And this became their new name for her. "Cinderella, why have you not yet done the washing?" yelled the stepmother. "Cinderella, don't just stand there. I need my ribbons tied in my hair now," yelled her stepsister.
Cinderella, why have you not brought me my tea? I asked you 10 minutes ago, yelled her other stepsister. Cinderella rarely saw her father now. He did not realize that things were so terrible for her because his new wife and daughters always behaved sweetly towards Cinderella whenever he was around. He also didn't think it was odd to see his daughter always wearing a plain gown with an apron and cinder smudges because she had always loved to cook. His first wife had been a wonderful cook. She had spent time in the kitchen every day with her daughter. He thought his daughter was spending time in the kitchen as a way to remember her mother. Then one evening there was a visitor at the door. It was a messenger from the palace. He handed Cinderella an invitation to the royal ball. It was addressed to every eligible young maiden. She was an eligible young maiden. That meant she was invited to the ball too. As she was trying to read the rest of the invitation, it was suddenly grabbed from her hands. Her stepmother had been the one to snatch the invitation. As she read it aloud to her daughters, a huge smile grew on her face. Girls, this is your chance. The prince is throwing a ball and every eligible maiden to the kingdom is invited. He'll be looking for his future bride at this ball. We have lots of planning to do. You must not fail me, the stepmother explained. Cinderella smiled and said, How lovely. We can all go to the ball. You? Go to the ball? Her stepsisters exclaimed as they laughed and laughed. It does say every eligible maiden. I am an eligible maiden, Cinderella responded. You do have a point, Cinderella, her stepmother replied. All right. You may go to the ball too, Cinderella, as long as you have finished all your chores. Oh, and you will have to find something nice to wear. Cinderella thanked her stepmother and hurried out to do her chores. As the day went on, her stepsisters kept creating more chores for her to do. They seemed to be making messes on purpose. Still, Cinderella was hopeful. Her mother had always told her that good things come from hard work. Cinderella knew that if she kept working hard, she could finish on time. It was nightfall when Cinderella finally finished. After helping her stepsisters get dressed, she rushed to the kitchen. She cleaned her face and hands. Then she opened a trunk of her mother's old clothes and pulled out a lovely gown. Just then her stepmother entered the room. She told Cinderella that she was too late. The carriage was already here and they were leaving without her. Cinderella was heartbroken. She laid her head on the gown on top of the trunk and began to cry. Cinderella's father walked in and saw her crying on her mother's gown. He placed a hand on her back. Cinderella looked up with tears in her eyes. She was about to tell him what happened when he spoke instead. I know you miss your mother. I miss her too. I understand how sad you are. You do not have to go to the ball, he said as he kissed her on the cheek and walked out the door. Cinderella had never felt so lonely in all her life. She ran out back to her mother's grave near the garden. She lay down on the grave and began to sob. Suddenly, she saw a bright light coming from the trees. She looked up and saw a beautiful woman. She was dressed in a sparkling gown, and she had a shining wand. She told Cinderella that she was her fairy godmother. She said she had been sent by Cinderella's mother to help her. With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed Cinderella's rags into a beautiful ball gown. Cinderella looked down and saw 2 perfect glass slippers on her feet. Another wave of the wand and Cinderella's hair was swirled up and held with jewels. Next, her fairy godmother turned a pumpkin into a carriage. She also turned some mice into horses. Oh my goodness. Isn't that funny? Mice into horses. And a rat into a coachman and lizards into footmen. Oh my goodness. The fairy godmother helped Cinderella into the carriage. Then she told her that all this magic would only last until midnight. Cinderella smiled and nodded and thanked her fairy godmother, and then she was off to the ball. Cinderella's carriage was the last to arrive. As she walked up the steps alone, she saw the prince. He was far ahead, greeting a long line of maidens one by one. As Cinderella entered the ball, all eyes were on her. No one else had ever seen a gown and hairstyle like hers. All were admiring her beauty. The prince stopped what he was doing to stare at Cinderella in awe. She blushed and walked away from the line toward the door to the garden. Cinderella strolled through the garden, admiring its loveliness. She heard a man's voice behind a rose bush in front of her. He asked her how she was enjoying the party. She thanked him for asking and told him she was having a fine time so far. Then she admitted to being a bit nervous and unsure of herself. She had told him she had never been to a ball. He asked her to dance with him right there in the garden. She agreed as she stepped behind the bush. It was the prince! Cinderella's cheeks turned pink. She looked down as he grabbed her hand. They began to dance, and it felt so natural. They talked as they danced. He was so kind and so interested in all she had to say. They talked and danced, they danced and they talked. It felt like they had known each other forever, even though they had only just met. Cinderella was wishing she never had to leave. Then she heard the clock begin to strike. It was nearly midnight. The magic would stop and she'd be back in rags. She thanked the prince for a lovely time, but told him she really must be going. He begged her to stay and started to follow her as she hurried toward the steps. As she rushed down the steps, one of her glass slippers fell off, but she kept going. The prince stopped to grab the slipper, and just at that moment the magic ended and Cinderella was in rags. She jumped over the staircase to hide. On the ground she saw that the other glass slipper had not disappeared. She put it in her apron pocket and quickly went on her way. Once home, she rushed to the kitchen and hid the slipper in her mother's old trunk of clothes. The next morning, there was a guest at the door. He said he was there to try a glass slipper on every young maiden who attended last night's ball, and that the prince would marry the maiden who is the owner of this slipper. Cinderella couldn't believe what she was hearing. Good things were finally happening to her. While her stepsisters fought over who would be first to try on the slipper, Cinderella went to the kitchen. She got the other glass slipper from the trunk. She entered the room and showed it to the guest. Her stepsisters and stepmother were in shock. They couldn't believe that Cinderella had been the mysterious, beautiful maiden from the ball. Cinderella was escorted to the palace to her prince. She brought her father with her, and on the way she explained to him how cruel her stepmother and stepsisters really were. Her father decided to leave them forever and come live in the palace with his daughter. And as for Cinderella, she and the prince were married, of course, and they lived happily ever after. The end.
That's it. That's the end. Now that's the fourth different version of the Cinderella story. So, did you like it? If you did, would you please arrow down on your remote and give Mammy a thumbs up to let me know that you like these stories? Don't forget, make sure you subscribe so that way you can watch for the next video that comes out. All right, so Mammy says that's the end. What else do I say? That's right. Besides your parents who loves you, God loves you. Very good. Who else loves you? Mammy loves you. Shh. But Mammy loves you bestest. Until next time, my littles, be good and be kind.